She rolled her eyes. Her uniform was pristine. "Shh, you know I can take care of myself," she whispered. He laughed silently. "Sure you can, Jill." Then, under his breath, said, "Just don't get in my way." Jill gritted her teeth and ignored his taunts. She'd always been competitive with him ever since they were in the police academy together. They were like two racehorses heading neck and neck toward the finish line. Jill was determined to prove she was just as good as he was. No, better. They looked at the team leader, who nodded. The two of them slowly moved forward, their breathing becoming more rapid. As they approached the fence, they heard rustling in the trees. Crystal had never wanted to be a mother. She'd really had no ambition to be anything at all. Stuck in a rut of life, like a sailboat without wind. She'd been tending bar when she met John Eddie. It wasn't much of a bar. As you pushed open its dilapidated door, you were immediately hit with the pungent smells of bitter beer, cigarette smoke, and salty sweat. A long, sticky bar dominated the dimly lit interior, lined with shaky stools and chipped coasters. The walls were covered in peeling nicotine-stained wallpaper, and the floor was littered with discarded peanut shells and spilt spirits. Normally, the regulars, their lives littered as well, would sit hunched over their drinks, staring blankly into the distance. Unless John Eddie was around. Eddie often drew a crowd, a mix of people in awe of him and people in fear of him. His mannerless mouth and domineering demeanor attracted Crystal. He clearly thought he was the shit, and just as clearly was a mean son of a bitch. But Crystal thought he was someone who could protect her. At first, she would shrivel from his drivel. Later, not knowing any better, she began believing him, impressed by his purported big ideas that the men around him enthusiastically nodded their heads up and down to. When the bar closed one night, he was in the parking lot, hovering, waiting for her, wanting her. She went out the back door and saw him. With an almost imperceptible shrug, she got into his truck. She stayed the night with him, which then became a month of muddling. Once she was pregnant, she was there for good. Or so she thought. "Grab the guns!" Eddie yelled over the baby's wails. Crystal looked at him frozen as she held the baby. "Leave the damn kid on the floor, just grab the guns!" They could see two guards ahead. The guards were behind a large oak tree, chatting quietly while looking at a cell phone. One laughed. Jack motioned to Jill to wait a moment as he silently made his way to the larger of the two guards. Before anything even registered on the guard's face, Jack started in on him. Jack got him down using a headlock and fireman's carry maneuver that landed the guy on his head. He was knocked out and would have a concussion, but he'd live. Jack allowed himself a quick smile, then turned to the other man, who was backing away, suddenly preferring flight to fight. Jill had watched momentarily in admiration of Jack's fighting skills, but couldn't admire for too long. The other guard was her job, and she had to be just as capable with him. He'd turned to run, but had a gun in hand. Jill moved cat-like toward her prey. A tree root tripped her. The guard stopped. His gun hand was shaking. Fast and agile, Jill quickly recovered, jumped, and landed a swift kick to his shaved head. Her steel-toed boot landed right in the center of his swastika tattoo. Blood immediately gushed onto the soil. All those years of martial arts training paid off. The gun fell out of the man's hand, and Jill kicked it away before kicking him in the stomach to make sure he stayed down. The man's eyes were wide, and it looked like he'd had enough, so she stopped, not wanting to overdo it. Jack watched her, ready to act, and looked similarly impressed, though he didn't say a word to her after they'd cuffed and muzzled the guards. Other cops quickly came over and dragged them away. "Well, that was the easy part," Jack said.